Okay, welcome back to part two of the preview ahead of Manchester United against Everton, or Everton against Manchester United, I should say. And in this part, we talk about some 90s nostalgia, like myself and Tony. Tony was playing for Everton in the 90s. I was there as press officer for the back end of the 90s. And there were some characters around the place then. And we talked last time about you when you started and when you come in, and people like Peter Beardsley and Mark Ward and all these players. But I'm going to move forward a little bit to when Joe Royle came in, because I think Joe Royle gave you your debut, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
What was that like? Do you remember?
Yeah, my debut was up at St James's Park.
Oh, was it?
And I was on the bench. And it was the night we got 2 players sent off, and I went on.
Right.
That was my debut with 9 men.
Wow.
Yes, and I think we got beat 1 or 2-0. Backs to the wall. I think Joe just said to me, he put me on right midfield. You know, we had 9 men. I think Earl Barrett and Barry Owen, I got in my head, got sent off. I mean, someone can clarify that. But all the instruction was, Tony, get on the ball and just try and keep hold of it. Run it up the pitch and just try and keep hold of it. You know, you can imagine St James's Park full house. Yeah. You know, against 9 men, they're baying for blood, aren't they? So that was my introduction to the playing for Everton. Yeah.
And I take it we lost that game.
We did.
Yeah. And then what was the sort of, because you're a young lad, you've come in. Do you expect to sort of stay in and around the team? Is that what happened? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I stayed in the squad. I mean, I don't know if it was the game after, or a couple of games after we had that fame. We were in the relegation fight.
Course,
it was the year of that.
Yeah.
We played QPR away. They won 3-2.
Yeah.
Which, in fact, Joe started me up front, would you believe, with Brett Angel for the first half. Sure, it was Brett Angel, but he started me up front. Would it have been Brett Angel?
Would have been, yeah. He was from Mike Walker, yeah.
Yeah, so sure, Brett started up front. Anyway, I think Brett came off at half time, and I went to right midfield again. But we won that game. You know, coming into that team, being a local lad, we were always fighting relegation. So it wasn't like your development football, where most of my 18 games or reserve games, we were actually the stronger team than most of them. So you're having all the ball. Yeah. Now you're playing in a team that a little bit struggling with the ball.
Yeah. Is that a problem for young lads? Do you think it's right to play? I mean, because what happens is when teams are in trouble, and we've seen it at Everton down the years, the first shout from the fans is, get the youngsters in, they can't do any worse. You know, but is it a wrong time to bring in a young player, or did it make you better in some ways?
I don't think there's a right and wrong in football. Right. Some can swim and some sink. Yeah. You know, in the end, if you're doing well enough in training, the managers want to put. I think most managers want young energy on the pitch. It's just whether they think they can trust them. I use that word quite a lot with young players. Like young Harrison, for me, if I was coaching Harrison, I think I can trust him. It doesn't mean I think he's the best player in the world. No. I think I put him on the pitch, and I almost know what I'm going to get off him.
Yeah, and that's the sort of what's the word? It's almost what the word trust means, is that you know you're going to get this and this from him. Yeah.
It's almost like having a young, experienced player, because most of the experienced ones, sometimes you think, how's he playing? But then when you play with them, you realise they're a 7 out of 10 every week, or a 6.5 out of 10 every week, and some that are 8. But I had the problem, I could be a 9 out of 10, but I could also be a 4. Yeah. So I didn't get that consistency.
And did that depend on players around you?
Sometimes. I mean, I played my best when Andre was here, because I had really quality around me, and I think most players would. It's nothing better than having really good players around you, because you can give them the ball, and they can give you the breather. Yeah. You know where you're going to go with your next ball, and it's like young Ndiaye now, isn't it? I watch Ndiaye now. I mean, just give him the ball, no matter where he is. The kid doesn't lose the ball. No. Just give him the ball. I just wish Ndiaye, personally, had someone even better than him ahead of him. Yeah. And that's what I've always championed for.
Yeah. No, I get that. I see what you're saying. I watched, funny enough, I think I sent it to you, a video of you putting in a pass for Michael Madar.
Michael,
who went on and scored. I can't remember the game, but yeah, great. And he gave you the run, in fairness to him, and a good striker knows what a midfielder wants, don't they? But as far as that sort of time, of course, we got to the FA Cup final. Yeah. You were very much part of the squad at that time. And we had a comment from one of the viewers and saying, "Can you talk about love the '90s nostalgia bit? Can you talk about Amakachi? Daniel Amakachi." Now, my only personal experience with Daniel, I came to the club in sort of 95, 96, and he was sort of on the way out sort of thing at that point. I think he only stayed another season if that.
Yeah.
And my one was where he'd won his gold medals, playing for Nigeria in the World Cup, and he asked me to mine them. He had 2 medals for some reason, I don't know why, but he had 2 medals, and he asked me to mine them one night because you were going away on an away trip. And he said, "Could you keep hold of them? I don't want them in my bag." And I slept with these 2 gold medals, in my bed, and I put them by my pillow. I was that terrified of losing them, But such a lovely guy and such a character, wasn't he? And of course, you were on the bench on that, should we say, famous or infamous? I don't know whether it's one or the other. That day at Ellen Road when the wrong sub was made,
Yeah, I mean, when Amo came through the doors of Belfield, we'd seen clips of him, like most of the fans, playing in the World Cup.
Of course, yeah.
But he'd come in and he was built like an ox.
Yeah.
Strong boy with the biggest smile you've seen.
Yeah.
And such a lovely fella, Everyone loved Amo.
Yeah.
Everyone loved Amo.
It's very true.
And it was hard not to love Amo. On the pitch, he gets the ball, what a powerhouse. So even in trades, a powerhouse. So you're excited by him. Because we had Bakayoko years later, who was nowhere near an Amakachi, nowhere near it. You train with them, don't you? So you see everything they've got. Amo was brilliant and he was powerful. In fact, many a time, because you go back to the 90s, Liverpool was a different city. It was just sort of starting to, the nightclub scene, I know this is going off, but the nightclub scene became quite big.
Nostalgia.
And I'm a young Scouser, so I quite like going to nightclubs. Of course, right, as you do.
At that point, I must add.
Yeah. But Amo used to say to me, Tony, where are you going tonight? And I go, Amo, where are you going? And he go, I want to go to the Buzz. And there was a young guy, well, he was a bit older than me, but a guy called Harris used to run the door there. Yeah. Dave Ash's mate. So Dave Ash was the janitor. So they're all mates. Yeah. Amo wants to go there. These mates were all them. So I had many a time jumping in Amo's Porsche. He had a Porsche, it's only 2-seater. And I'd meet my mates in there. Yeah. And then I'd get in the Buzz. I'd go that way because we're all doing what we're doing. And Amo's standing at the back with all the lads, having a glass of Coke. Right. And then I'd see him back on Monday. Yeah. And Amo was brilliant. I love Amo. And then obviously the 95, it was the year when you only had 2 subs. Yeah. So it's me and Amo. And that, I say to everyone, that's my favourite day of being involved at Everton. Yeah. I never got on the pitch, and yet I still say for me time at Everton, that day was like unrivalled. Yeah. Having all the stadium, and me and Amo warming up until we get a shout, and it's "Who me?" And it's Amo, and then it's famous, isn't it?
And what was going on? Because Joe, I listened to Joe a couple of nights ago on a video where he was talking about it, and he was saying that all he told him to do was warm up. Yeah. He didn't tell him to go on, and before he had a chance, he'd ran on. Yeah. So was there a sub? Do you remember if there was a sub going to be made? Was it possibly you?
We were at the time. I'm saying we're getting a shout to go back to the dugout because someone's given us a signal. Yeah. And in back in them days, you would always point. Do you mean me or him?
Of course, yeah.
Because there was only 2 of us, it's him or me. Because the goalie.
Highly technical, wasn't it?
So it's Amo. So Amo's running back. So Amo's like, I'm going on. So someone must have said, get ready. Get ready, yeah. Now, Les Elm would have been with the player on the pitch. Yeah, yeah. And whatever signals, because this is the day before.
Pre all that,
yeah. So, if Les had done anything like that, because Les was so old school, and he was a hard man.
You didn't get second chance for
You knew he was injured, but he broke his leg. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, anyway, Amo come on. It's probably, I think Joe said, it's his best substitution he's ever made, isn't it?
I think he says it's the best substitution he's never made.
He's never made, yeah.
Which is about right.
And then you get off the pitch, and you're in Ellen Road, and the changing room's tiny. But then that night, we had organised a party in Liverpool that night. Right. And at that night, everyone's dancing on tables anyway, do you know what I mean? But Amo, I must admit, I went to Man City. We had pre-season now. A year later, it wasn't a year later, a couple of years later, Joe was the manager of City. Of course, and then one day in training, he hadn't told me, Amo turns up to train.
Really?
Yeah, he's done the pre-season and it was a running day.
Yeah.
And he came in about 3 hours after everyone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I thought it was
And all the lads,
because
because he made an impression. This is what he was like as a fella. Even in his first day at City, he made a lovely impression. Where the lads, you know, in football, we sort of take the mickey out of each other of people who we all like. Do you know what I mean? If there's someone who you're maybe not part of the squad, you sort of don't take the mickey out of them, if that makes sense.
It totally does, you know, because, and I know that because of Neville Southall, you know, and Neville was the one who, if he took the mickey out of you, you knew you were part of the squad. You knew, you know, because players and people would say to me, you know, Neville's having a go. You know, so if Neville's having a go at you, you're accepted. You know, and that's it.
So this day we're doing pre-season, and Amo's built for sprinting, isn't he?
Yeah.
That's what he's built for, very much so. But this day wasn't a sprinting day out.
No.
So this day is like, I think it might have been a minimum of it might have been a 6-minute run.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, all the team are in, bar one player, and it's Amo. So obviously, I know he could be anywhere, Amo. He could have been back in Liverpool, or he could have ran that way, he could have ran the wrong way, Amo. But anyway, he comes in, and to be fair, all the players are waiting for him, and everyone gives him a round of applause. And he comes up and he goes, "Hey boys, if you think that's slow, I can go slower." And he could. And you know, he was just, they all loved him.
He was a great guy, wasn't he? You know, as I say, I didn't get to know him that well, but obviously on the few occasions I did, he was very much thingy. But so, I mean, at that time though, when winning the FA Cup and everything, I mean, it was a great time, wasn't it, for the club? And Joe was a manager who you really, really wanted it to work for, didn't you? You know, and it was working for him. We missed out on Europe the next season by a couple of points, if that. I think, was it Arsenal got it instead? I think we got beat by Villa. I think
we beat Villa last game of the season.
We beat Villa, that's right, but they'd won as well.
They'd won as well, but that was a good squad. That
it was.
You know, it really was a good squad.
It
was just, you know, you've built on staying up with this Dogs of War, right? And that was sort of the foundation to then to grow and play better football, which we did. I think
he sprinkled a bit of stardust on top, hasn't he?
Correct, with Andre, And I think what happened with Joe, he had a lot of injuries to myself when I was playing well, Joe Parkey when he was playing well, and John Ebron. And the three of us had a similar injury. And the three of us were out for a long time. And I think then Andre eventually went, didn't he? And it sort of upset the apple cart on everything. And it just sort of, players were playing really injured. You know, you were going on the pitch when a foreign player now, or a modern player, I should say, a modern player now wouldn't go on. But a lot of the Everton lads would have.
It's it was a time when, I mean, I remember the season, you know, it was transfer deadline day, which was always on the last Thursday of March in those days. And I remember, you know, the day when it happened with Joe, and you know, when he went, and obviously the big, you know, one was he wanted Torre Flo, and it didn't happen. We got I can't remember the guy's name now, Efterberg or something like that, whoever it was. He was a central defender, and we got him, but Joe wanted Torre Flo, and it was at that point with Peter Johnson where, you know, the money was always tight, I think. There were times, and when he had it, he would spend it, but there were times when he didn't, and we saw that once Howard came back, and you know, and then Walter started to buy players with Materazzi and Decor and Collins and all this. So it was one of them where you didn't quite know where you were. But as far as Joe going, I mean, how much of a blow was that to everybody? Because, you know, it did sort of come out the blue, didn't it, really?
Yeah, I think Joe's come out and said he didn't even know he was getting sacked at one stage, didn't he? But it's hard for football, well, not hard for football, it's different for footballers because you're in that industry where managers do come and go. And it's sort of, you know,
you just got on with it as players.
You sort of do. I mean, you get attached to people. I got attached to Jimmy Gabriel, coming right through. And then one day Jimmy's going. You know, I give Jimmy a going away present because he meant so much to me. But then a day later, I've got a new coach, and you're building a new relationship straight away. And you never forget. You never forget what they've done for you or how much they mean to you and you to them. And you're always thankful and grateful. But in football, you quickly jump back on the horse and you go again.
You got to, haven't you?
Yeah, and
Life goes on.
it just goes on.
I always remember, when I left, funny enough, and this is just the press officer, don't forget, I was just a nobody really, when you look at it. But I always remember like someone saying to me when I left, in 2 weeks' time, and I was devastated, because it was my dream job, and someone said, in 2 weeks' time, they won't even remember you. Even if the chairman left tomorrow, in 2 weeks' time, it would be. And that is so true, but Joe was something about him, wasn't there? That, and I think you're right on Jimmy Gabriel. We used to call him Uncle Jim, didn't we? I think that was his nickname. And I used to go to all the reserve games with Jim, and we'd sit at the front and he'd talk through.
Of course,
he would tell me all about his coaching methods. And I never asked to be told, but he couldn't help but talk about that. I remember him talking about Michael Branch and about how he was trying to teach him not to have too much backlift, when he hit the ball and things like that.
He cared, you see. So he cared. So all them little things, them little tips he could give players. And that's good coaches are good coaches. Because they got that personal skill as well. They're good people. But then they got loads of experience and loads of knowledge, and they pass it on. And that training ground was full of, it was full of joy, wasn't it?
So, full of joy, full of great people.
Full of great people. And Joe coming in was probably the perfect, it was the perfect fit, wasn't it? Because the club needed something. And Joe knew the club, and it just needed someone to go, do you know what, we're fighting relegation. You aren't fit, which was one of the main things.
It was,
taking over. You weren't fit. And it's crazy to say, but we actually weren't fit. We were good for 60 minutes. Well, you blow up then.
It's mad, that, isn't it, to think that can
crazy,
happen. And I just remember the feel around the place when Joe arrived, because I was at the press conference. It was actually an AGM going on, and they brought him into the AGM, and it was just fantastic. And he was just a great character, wasn't he? I remember going down on the coach a few times to different away games, and I actually felt like I could play for Joe Royle. We would have been in trouble if I had of. But just no matter who you were in the club, whether you were, the press officer, whether you were clean, or whether you were someone who did the food, or you felt part of it because he was like that. And is that a successful club? I know we weren't successful ultimately, but is that what you need to have to be successful?
We were successful, you think about.
Of course, with the cup.
Look at the last 30 years, really.
Yeah, of course.
So Joe beat Man U in the final, didn't we?
I mean, ultimately, I meant.
I know what you mean. A great Man U team as well, wasn't?
Oh no,
this was a top
that was
era.
A win and a half, wasn't it?
Top era of a Man U team. No, so I understand what you're saying. It wasn't where it should have went, but in that short space, it's amazing when you think about it, because you've brought in, the Dogs have won. You've brought in an FA Cup. You've brought in probably, arguably since the 80s, the best player to ever play for the club in Andre. And you also brought Duncan in, who became an icon. So within a short space of time, without looking back on it, you go, bloody hell, he actually
did a lot of work.
He's done a lot of work in a short space of time.
It's such a shame that, but that was the feeling at the time, I think. There was we were quick to panic, because it was just the way it was. It's hard to describe, but it was the way it was. But listen, if you've enjoyed that part of 90s nostalgia, please let us know. And if there's a particular person, there's a particular player or manager that you want to talk about, that you want Tony to remember, and also anything about the time, the games, because it was a great period, please just comment, and please like and subscribe to the True Blue Everton podcast, and we'll see you next time.